Sup, this is Alex Chu coming at you with another episode. This episode, I want to tell you why modern women, they only want a man who's 6 feet tall, and they only want a man who earns six digit income, like $100,000 a year, right? But anyway, before I talk about that, I want to tell you my name's Alex Chu. I'm the guy who invented physical mortality rings. These are rings that you put on your small fingers during sleep. You wear them, you don't age anymore. You become physically immortal. For example, I'm already 53. If you look at my belly, look, I'm pretty slim, right? You don't see any belly fat on me. You don't see any muscle because I never work out. Never go to the gym. Never exercise. If you go to my website, livemuchlonger.com, I have lots of testimonials from Amazon customers. Most of them give me 4-star, 5-star. If you're interested, you want to look like me, we're at 53, livemuchlonger.com, livemuchlonger.com. Link is at the bottom of this video. Okay, let's talk about why women only want a man who earns like $100,000. Hey, you see a lot of interviews, right? Guys go up to women and say, how much does the guy need to earn? And the woman would say, 100K, at least 100K. Hey, they're not joking around, At first, I thought that they were joking around, but then I realized a lot of women are saying that. I mean, I would say most women. I would say like 90% of women, if you interview them, they say, I want a guy who earns $100,000. But of course, that's not a reality, Very few men earn that much money. I would say like less than 5% of the men would earn like $100,000, But do you know why they want this? Okay, it's because, honestly speaking, if if I'm a woman, right? And if I, become, have a relationship with a man who only earns $50,000, which is sort of normal, right? You know what? I will never expect a house, okay? If I marry this man, we can never ever buy a house. The reason is because it's not enough money. $50,000, that's not enough money to buy a house nowadays, Let's say this man earned $50,000 and I earned $40,000. So you're talking about near $100,000 a year, right? And when I marry a man, then we need to have children, right? One child or two children, How can $100,000 afford the whole family, right? I mean, yeah, you could get by, we live paycheck by paycheck, But then it's not enough money to buy a house because houses are so expensive nowadays. You understand? You're talking about like at least $500,000 to buy a modern house nowadays, right? So it's, I mean, how if me and my man earn $100,000 together, right? And if we want to have a child or two, then there's not much savings. I mean, every year, how much money can we save? Like $10,000 a year? How long do I have to save in order to buy a house, right? Just to save enough money for a down payment. Wow, how long is that going to take? And then after paying mortgage, I mean, it's gonna be a struggle. See, back in the days, okay, women would not make that kind of request. Back in the days, a woman is willing, is willing to marry your next door neighbor. Or back in the days, I used to work at restaurants. I worked in lots of restaurants, and I see a lot of waiters marrying waitresses. I remember my first job. I was only 17 years old. I was working at a sushi bar, right? It's like one of those, rotations, rotating sushi bars. And there's this Japanese waitress. Her boyfriend is a kitchen helper. Her boyfriend is from Romania. Okay, and that guy works inside a kitchen. I mean, who would do that nowadays, right? What woman, what waitress would have a kitchen helper boyfriend nowadays? It's not possible nowadays, Back in the days, they didn't care. Back in the days, yeah, waitresses would marry waiters, and then coworkers would marry coworkers, And they would just find a next door neighbor or somebody nearby and get married and settle down, have kids. They don't care how much money you earn. The reason is because back in the days, it's easy to buy a house. You understand? I remember when I was only 20 some year old, I moved into a house, and then the owner the landlord of the house bought the whole house. It was a huge house. It was like 3 stories tall in San Francisco. He bought it for only $150,000. But it's a fixer-upper house. It's a rundown house. He has to fix everything himself. But luckily, he's a contractor himself. So he bought the whole house and he fixed everything. He remodeled the whole house. So I got a room in his house, and imagine $150,000. Well, I was like 23-year-old at that time. I was 22 or 23. So that's like 30 years ago. 30 years ago, I guess you could buy a house if you're just a waiter. Damn, hell, you could buy a house if you are like illegal alien. I had a roommate back in the days. He came from China illegally. He worked in the United States for like 3-4 years, and he bought a house. Imagine that. Back in the days, you could, even illegal aliens working as dishwashers, working at restaurants, or working for contractors. Even those kind of people could afford a house. Just because every house is like 200,000, 300,000. It's not a big deal. So you could just save up like $50,000 or $60,000 and then pay for the down payment, and then buy a whole house and then rent it out. You part out your house, and then everything's easy. But nowadays, right? Nowadays, buying a house it's a huge investment. At least $500,000, depending on which part of the country you live in. In California, it's almost $1 million per house, right? So you could imagine. I mean, if a woman say, "I'll just marry anybody," the woman is being stupid. You marry somebody who earn only $50,000 a year, then you will never ever buy a house. Okay, you and your husband will never ever buy a house. So you could imagine if I'm a woman, if I'm a beautiful woman, right? I got the tits, I got the ass, I got the face and everything. Why would I settle down with somebody who earned $50,000, right? I mean, if I settle down with a normal person, a normal man who earned $50,000, I'm admitting defeat. It's like I'm already admitting defeat, So a lot of women, they would struggle. They would wait until they're 30-some-year-old, They're like 35, 36, and then they realize, oh shit, I'm getting old. I'm too old. I better settle down. I'm just gonna call the next richest man I know. And they try to settle down, But and then another reason why, okay, a lot of women are so picky nowadays is because internet, okay, Facebook, Instagram, Tinder, Hinge, whatever, Bumble, give them an illusion that there are so many quality men out there. There's so many fine men around, Because nowadays, without the internet, right? I mean, how do you meet men? You meet men at the church, you meet men at work, or maybe your friend introduced you a man. Your friend introduced you, another man, and you meet him and stuff like that. Or you just basically walk into a restaurant or walk into a supermarket, you meet, local people, right? Your next door neighbors, And then you just basically choose one of them. Choose a man from the church, choose a man from your work, or choose a man from your neighborhood. But nowadays, it's like with social media, right? You get to see men from all over the place, man, from all over the world, And there's a lot of rich men out there. There's a lot of like millionaires, billionaires, They're willing to fly you out. I actually flew out a woman before. She lives in Georgia, I flew her out before. She came to San Francisco and lived in my house for a few days and stuff like that. I actually flew them out before. But because of social media, a woman can like meet men from all over the place, And there's a lot of rich men out there that they have so much money to burn, they're willing to fly you out, They're willing to buy you a plane ticket. You come visit a man, like you live in a countryside, and a man from New York or a man from Miami is willing to fly you out, and then you go meet the man, go visit him for a few days and then fly back to your home, stuff like that, So it's like, and when women go online, they see so many attractive looking attractive, tall, and rich men, right? And it sort of gave him an illusion that, wow, there are so many nice men out there, so many good quality men out there. Why should I just settle down with somebody who I met at a church? Why should I just settle down with a coworker? Like I'm a waitress, but I'm beautiful and sexy. Why should I marry this dude? Why should I marry my kitchen helper? Or why should I marry my coworker who's also a waiter? I don't want to marry. I'm not even going to marry my boss. My boss, he owns a restaurant and he thinks he's all that. But, somebody flew me out. Somebody from Miami flew me out and he's rich. And give him illusion that there's fine men, there's good men all over the place, right? But in reality, these men who has enough money to fly you out, they are rare. They are like football players, They are like basketball players. They're like sports. They're like like an athlete, and they have so much money. They fuck different women every day, right? And you're just like one of them. You're just one of the women that they fucked, And they're not gonna do anything for you. They'll give you money to buy some jewelry, and they'll fuck you, and they'll fly you back home. But then they're not gonna marry you. You're not gonna get a cent from them. Right? They're not gonna marry you. They're not gonna, like allow you to become their girlfriend. No. But it's just that because of this kind of culture, because of social media, you could meet men from all over the place. And these women, when they're younger, they don't mind riding the carousel, right? They don't mind riding the carousel, and they sleep around. They sleep with so many men. And it created this illusion that they are so desirable, right? But yeah, men want to have sex with you, but you're not desirable anymore when you're old and you want to settle down, you want to get married, then suddenly you realize you're not that desirable. Like lot men are willing to sleep with you, but if you want to settle down, you want to have a relationship, they'll just block you. Men would just block you. Men would say, you crazy. Bitch, you crazy. They'll block you. And you're not desirable anymore when you get old. When you finally want to settle down, you'll realize you're not desirable anymore. So that's another problem. It's the social media that created this illusion. For women, make them think that they are in high demand, but it's not true. And let's talk about why women wants a man who's 6 feet tall. Most modern women that live in the United States, okay, they want a man who's 6 feet tall. In China, they want a man who's at least 6 feet 10 inches tall. I mean, 5 foot 10 inches tall. Most women in China, they want a man who's 5 foot 10 inches tall. And sometimes, women in China, they want a man who's 6 feet tall. Do you know why? But what we know is most men are not that tall, right? Only average man is sort of like me. I'm 5'8", right? Average men in the United States are like 5'9", 5'9" inches tall. I would say only like 20% of the men are 6 feet tall, right? But then all the women want a man who's 6 feet tall. You know why? The reason is because nowadays women sleep around a lot. They slept with so many men, and they saw all sizes, right? When you sleep around so many times, your vagina becomes loose, right? And then a man who's 6 feet tall, he has a bigger penis, right? And bigger penis can satisfy a woman who sleep around a lot, So after a while, after women sleep around with so many men, they don't respect a short man anymore. They don't respect a man who has an average sized penis anymore, So all the women, they just want a man who's 6 feet tall, I don't blame them though, because you can imagine, okay, let's say if you're a Chad, right? You're like a supermodel Chad or Tyrone, and you sleep around with a lot of women like all the time, right? And all the man wants a woman with huge tits, right? All the men like women with huge tits. All men want a woman with huge tits and tight pussy, and right? So you could imagine if you sleep around with all sorts of women who has huge tits and tight pussy and nice ass and everything, right? And suddenly your mom say, "Hey, I want you to marry this woman. I want you to marry your own cousin." And your cousin has like cookie tits, like very very small tits. Are you willing to marry her? Of course not, right? Because you slept with so many different women who has huge tits, and suddenly somebody force you to marry a woman with little tits. You just don't respect women with little tits anymore. See, that's what happened to women. They just don't respect men with average size penis anymore. So nowadays, all the women want somebody who's 6 feet tall. Yeah, it's a problem. This. It's like it's sort of like they got addicted to a man with a large penis. Because it's sort of like a man is addicted to porn. Can you imagine if you watch porn every day? You see a woman would be sucking on your dick, and then fucking a woman does all sorts of nasty things. Porn stars, they do all sorts of nasty things on camera, right? And if you're addicted to porn, you got used to that, right? You got used to it. Oh, you think that woman is supposed to do that? A woman is supposed to suck my dick. A woman is supposed to, swallow and all sorts of things. And then, most women are not willing to do things like that. Is it because those are professionals. Those are porn stars. They would do it. But most women, they're not willing to. A lot of women, they're not even willing to suck your dick. So you could imagine. I mean, that's the reason why porn. If you watch too much porn, it destroys your marriage, because then after you watch porn, then you sort of want your wife to perform whatever is on that video, right? And your wife is not willing to perform like a porn star, then you don't like your wife anymore. You don't show respect to your wife anymore, right? That's the reason why porn also destroys marriages, And so women, they sleep around, right? They sleep around a lot nowadays. They have so many body counts. It destroys marriages, okay? That's the reason why. I mean, it's basically these women, they would sleep around, and then until they are like 35, 36, and they realize, wow, I'm so old. I need to settle down. And they start looking at their phone, oh, I gotta, oh yeah, this guy flew me in before. He's from Miami. Maybe I should just settle down with him. Give this guy a call. This guy blocks her. And the girl's like, what happened? Why is he blocking me? He flew me out once, We had sex a few times. Why did he block me? And then the girl looked for the second best. Okay, this guy from Seattle, Washington. Yeah, I met this guy before. He flew me out once. Called this guy. Guy blocks her. And then she realized, wow, these guys are players. They play me. They don't want to. They only want to fuck me, They don't want to settle down with me. What's going on? And then the girls start to panic, right? And then the girl is like, okay, maybe I should just lower my standard. Maybe, instead of $100,000 every year, maybe I lower to 80,000, right? And then, but I still want a guy who's 6 feet tall, though, And then she waits and waits and waits. Now she's 38-year-old, Then she starts to really panic, right? And then she starts to, maybe I should just, look for somebody, go to the supermarket or go to Home Depot, Go to Home Depot because at least the guy has a house, right? I mean, whoever goes to Home Depot to buy things at the Home Depot, that guy must have a house, right? I'm going to look for someone who at least has a house. Go to Home Depot, try to look for men, Yeah, I'm 38, but I'm still not going to settle, okay? Maybe not 6 feet tall, maybe, average size, 5'9" or whatever, okay? But the guy has to have a house. Yeah, let's go to Home Depot, look for that man. Go to Home Depot, couldn't find anybody at Home Depot. Go to Lowe's, go to, I don't know. And then, now she's 40-year-old. What's she going to do, But the funny thing is, these women, they're still not willing to settle. I realize a woman who's 40, she's still not willing to settle. She still try to look for somebody taller, somebody who looks young, right? Somebody who at least has a house or something. And it just, it's like settling for a normal man, somebody who's only 5'8" tall, somebody who only earns like $45,000 a year, You know, somebody who rents an apartment. That's almost like admitting defeat. You know, I don't know. A woman is not willing to settle down with a man like that until she hits like 45-year-old. Yeah, that's what I think. Nowadays, you know, a woman is not willing to settle down with an average dude until she's like 45. But you can imagine when a woman hits 45, she's like a grandmother. She's so old. Who wants her? I mean, who's willing to settle down with a 45-year-old woman, right? That's the dilemma nowadays, you know. But anyway, that's why I want to save it for this episode. Hope you like my channel. If you like, please subscribe. I'll see you next time.